Hello folks. Now we have spent about 2 weeks on our Best of the Most West tour in just one state, California. And it's big and it's diverse and it encompasses so much that it makes sense. We kind of have to spend 2 weeks to get the gist of all that this state has to offer, and we haven't even scratched the surface of this state. It's huge, it's expansive. There's only so much we can do on one tour if we want to get all of the West Coast. We've seen multiple locations in various regions of the state, but I think it's the best thing to cap off California with its state capital. Welcome to Sacramento. Now I just now noticed this, but seems like we have a variety of trees just in this Capitol Park area. A nice sampling, a smorgasbord, if you will, of all of California's best trees. See, there's the coast redwood. It's huge. There's many different redwoods, but there's also not just the redwoods, but other trees found in other regions of California. There's that sugar maple, classic tree, beautiful. And it's a great way for one to immerse themselves in the world of the wildlife here without having to really go out too far. Now, of course, I would always recommend go to these different regions and see the trees in their natural habitat. But if you don't have time, why not see trees right next to the capital city? Here's a California fan palm. Yep, seems to fit the narrative. And it seems like this is a map of all the missions along California's coast. We see San Juan Capistrano. We went there. So I guess if you don't have time to see all of California like we are doing, we haven't even seen all of it, come to this Capitol Park at the beginning of your day in Sacramento. You'll get a nice introduction. But here we are, and what is at every capital city? Well, a Capitol building. That's the house of the state government. We ought to see that real quick.
Come on, Brain! See what you can do, Brain Frog. Come on, Brain! A little sleepy, yeah, there you go. Nice little massage. Let Brain Frog know you're there. Thank you. Feel free to cheer.
Well, this is the great Capitolio de California. That's right. Spanish influence still up here in Sacramento. Sacramento is just Spanish for sacrament. And so the official name for this capital is the Capitolio de California. How fitting. And even more fitting is that the most populous state in the country is this great golden state. So go figure, it's going to be a very populous capital complex. That over there was I guess like a frog jumping contest. So citizens of California, you'll be pleased to know that your tax dollars are going to the salaries of the people who are watching bullfrogs jump. I don't know if that's truly the case, but it's fun to think of it like that. Anyway, what do we think of the great California state capital, or Capitolio de California? Well, it's got that classic neoclassical design we see in many different capitals. Nothing really deviates, but it is nice to see the abundance of all these trees around it, of varying species, and I guess it's just a lively atmosphere. Great thing about this capital is that it is right in the center of downtown. No need to walk a bunch of miles. It is perfectly located within the city of Sacramento. So why don't we go in past the great marble columns to the interior and see what that's all about. Let me just say, California, state capital with the strictest security measures I've seen of all the 30-something state capitals we've gone to. Anyway, let's enjoy. There are so many state capitals which try to promote the state capitol building as a big tourist attraction, but of all the states I've seen, I think California has done the most successful job. I don't know if they actively promoted it, but they certainly drew so many different crowds, from school field trips to families to, the locals who just say, hey, we want to come here for a day to the state capitol. So I guess good job, Sacramento. But as we've proven time and time again on the coverage project, a state capitol is often much, much more than just the building. There's a whole downtown. Let's go check that out. Now, although this towering structure dates back only to the late 1800s, a few decades after the establishment of Sacramento, and much after the first people from Spain came here, I think it really represents the foundations of this city, Sacramento, Spanish for sacrament. The first Spanish explorers came down to the Central Valley, the northern part of it, and they found this whole area full of beautiful trees and shrubs and chirping birds and animals, and they thought, wow, this really reminds us of the Blessed Sacrament. So over there we have that cathedral of the Blessed Sacrament. Geez, no wonder this place is called the City of Trees. They're all over, almost on every street. You don't find that very much in big, big cities. This city is over 500,000 people strong. I'm sure it's even more when you count the surrounding metro area. But Sacramento is huge. It's one of America's largest state capitals. I'm also extremely surprised at how far north in California palm trees can grow. I guess California's overall Mediterranean climate defies a lot of the tropes you'd find in US geography. And it's very weird. Palm trees up here. The Sacramento Valley, part of the greater Central Valley of California, is one of the world's most agriculturally productive regions. And I guess it's no surprise that in Sacramento's history it was once that big hub for packing such produce that would be grown all over the region. Now I guess there's 7-Elevens on every corner now in America, but back in the day it was very hard to find relatively fresh produce. Sacramento served as a place where a lot of that produce could be shipped from the westernmost regions in the country anywhere. Some may say even that Sacramento is just part of the greater San Francisco macro region. But then there's other people, probably a lot of people here in Sacramento, who have enough pride to say, no. Sacramento, we have our own little region here full of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, enough to be a region of its own. Furthermore, it just so happens that Sacramento is very well centrally situated within Northern California, so one could, within a few hours, come to all places, up north to the Shasta Range, east towards the Big Sierra, Nevada, or even just go back to San Francisco. It's all real accessible here in Sacramento. Today, Sacramento stands not only as the capital city, the place where California's governmental business is administered, but it's also kind of a hipster city. That's what it is today. But what was Sacramento like back in the day, and how did it even come in the first place to fruition? So you might want to think of today in Sacramento as sort of a sister location to yesterday in Coloma. Both places share inseparable history together. Remember John Sutter from yesterday? Well, that was Sutter's Mill. This is Sutter's Fort. So at the confluence of the Sacramento and American River, which we saw yesterday in Coloma, was this beautiful area full of all the trees and beautiful abodes of nature. So this is what one can consider the start of Sacramento as we know it today. John Sutter was a Mexican of Swiss origin, and he wanted to create his own colony from the lands in Alta California that he purchased. He had great dreams of building New Helvetia. Well, Helvetia just means Switzerland in Latin. And he had great hopes for this colony. Unfortunately for the colony though, the gold rush occurred, which halted immediately the dreams of this becoming a prized colony of any kind. In fact, this was more so an empire of gold than a colony of John Sutter's. John Sutter never really got to have that agricultural and industrial New Helvetia empire, for once the gold rush started and people started flocking en masse to California, they prioritized the gold, not anything relating with agricultural or industrial might. But in turn, that meant that Sacramento was born with explosive growth. Forget about the actual Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. It seems like the Tower Bridge of Sacramento is an actual Golden Gate Bridge. Alright, this is the Sacramento River we've been talking about, for which the city of Sacramento is named. It was along these waters that the city that boomed suddenly as a result of the gold rush could control any traffic, namely the boats carrying the rich cargo up and down. And as a result, the economic activity that stretched from maybe around here, a little downstream, all the way to the Sierra Nevadas. That's right, as far inland as Coloma from yesterday. Sacramento could control it all. Oh, check it out. steam locomotives. These railroads were the highways back in the day, before all the interstates, US routes, state routes. It was the train that was the main artery of America. And from here in Sacramento, it was centrally located just enough west to be considered West Coast. So the train set up shop here, and it was a great western terminus for not just the Transcontinental Railroad, but also the Pony Express from a little bit earlier in the 1800s. See, now this is exactly what I'm talking about. Brick buildings everywhere, old-timey shops, railroads up ahead beyond us. This is the old town of Sacramento. This probably boomed very, very quickly to meet the demand of all the people come to California for gold. If it was the Sierra Nevadas that had the resources, it was here, Sacramento, which had all the hopeful prospectors and businessmen hoping to capitalize on this new industry. It was in the year 1850, a little over a year after the word spread of gold here, that Sacramento was first incorporated into a city. Now, throughout its first few years, it had to deal with a lot, such as fires and floods, but the growth of the city could not be stopped. Sacramento was made the capital city of California in 1854. And the rest, well, that's history. Well, Sacramento is not just simply an extension of the San Francisco Bay. It is not just a city littered with beautiful trees. It is one of my most favorite capital cities that we've visited here on the Coverage Project. That's right, you heard me. I expected great things, and great things came from our day in the capital of the Golden State. For as much as the state of California is filled with beachside resorts and world-class cities, so many different destinations that catch any tourist's eye, Sacramento, although huge in population, really delivers a down-to-earth visitor experience. So I would totally recommend Sacramento. Come here for a little slice of the Golden State. Well, that's all I have for y'all. It's time, after 2 weeks, to leave California and go and explore new states on the most western part of the US. So with that said, with some historic trains to my left and the Sacramento River to my right, well, now it's my left, but that's what happens when you turn around. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location. You're in Sacramento, a wonderful time. Sing, 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 ding, ding, ding.